just the energy. Oh, see. I'll take your order. Are you shaking? So you're way too tall when you put your heels on.
Yeah.
Robert, where are you?
Yeah, I'm coming.
Oh, I see.
Steve, you look so scared at the back.
Well, I thought Dan was coming back.
Is that everybody?
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Short answer.
Is everyone?
Can you fit us all in?
Right. Yeah.
Need to close up a bit, or
camera's that?
mine?
Yeah, that's good. So everyone smile.
Hello. Take a few just in case we.
Yeah, that's fine. 3, 2, 1.
Lovely. Could you take another on my camera, please?
Yes, certainly.
You're a star. Thank you very much.
You just press it.
I'll just have a quick look now.
Press it up and down.
This
Just,
one?
yes, down.
Yeah, a bit closer.
And release it.
I can probably crop that anyway.
Yeah, you can crop that.
I can crop it. That's fine.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
that's fine. Thank you.
You're doing a lovely job here.
Right. Well, I can't see you. Oh, do I need to actually...
Can you see?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so...
Another
Try
one?
that again, yeah.
Yep.
Right, so everyone smile.
Smile.
Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Yeah, like you want.
I will email them all across.
Sorry. Break. Make a break, please. Perhaps you need to go back a bit further.
Yes, that seems
Depends
good.
how wide I can get. Thingies on. Can you get us all in? What am I
Yeah,
doing?
that's it.
Lovely.
So, smile.
Hang on. Oh, hang on. Nan's adjusting her glasses.
Right.
And again.
Okay.
And
3,
smile.
2, 1.
Good egg.
Nothing's happened. That's fine.
Yep.
Whose is this one?
That's it, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on?
Everybody else?
I just
Yeah. Okay, no
Very
problem.
nice, thank you.
Tell me when you're done. Don't worry. Could you take one of mine with mine? Just press up and down. Okay? Charles. Yes. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are we sitting or milling?
We haven't really. Yeah,
I've done that.
we've organised you.
I'm just keep the speech on to see.
You're right. Oh, there is a table plan there, but if you fancy it, you've no need to go and find it. If you,
No, we know where we
you're
are.
on table 2. very quiet.
Non, di da cigarro, I know that as well.
David called in and picked Verna got a bike and I got a bike, so she wasn't using it. We still sell it. There's cocktails in Shrewsbury. I'll write it in.
I have no idea how to
Oh, I've already messed them up. I've missed it. I've missed it.
Hold it. That's it. Mind your hips. Don't cut it, you just hold it. That's it.
This one, look up there.
Look Verna. Come on. Smile. What's happening?
Three more.
You ready?
Both look in this direction at the same time. Yeah, both look this direction. Look at Robert. Both in the same direction. That's good. Okay? Yeah. Right.
It's all good. Yeah.
Hold on. Okay?
Done. Job done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Was that you, Derek? Not this time. Well, normally when I stand up with our bowling committee there, we've got our treasurer, no, Secretary Norma and President Derek. When I get on my feet, they usually see wads of paper, but nothing today. It's all off the top of my head, like my hair, gone. Anyway, I suppose the first thing I would say is thank you for your nice words, Robert. Very nice indeed. Your inheritance is now safe. Yeah, well, before I do anything else, I must thank, like you've already done, for all of you to come today. Verna and I are very, very pleased you could come. Unfortunately, two of our friends rang this morning. His wife, Joyce, had been very poorly during the night, so they weren't able to be here. But they sent their regards to everybody, and that's nice. But when I look around the table, I see there's a few of you come some distance. We've got Somerset here, haven't we, Gay? You came from Somerset, which is really nice. Let me look around the table. There's Robert and family who've come from Gloucestershire. David and family who've come from Warwickshire. Where else is there? Oh, Brenda, of course. Where are you, Brenda? You're hiding behind Mike. Mike! And she's also come from Warwickshire as well. The rest of you are fairly local. Or loco, I'm not quite sure what you do. But you're here. And that's very nice, and thank you very much for that. I think we should also thank the hotel. I think they've done a good job for us, don't you? And Mr. Sebastiano Sidney, who is the general manager, the Seb as he likes to be called. We've got a good relationship with him from the, and this is, Norma has nurtured this over the years with the, her silvery tongue in relation to the bowling green and so on. Somebody's been working very hard out there. What did you say? And so that's rather nice. And also I think that the bar staff, and the chef, and the kitchen staff, and all these delightful young ladies have been around here looking after us. I think they've done a splendid job, and I'm very pleased about that. So that's good. And I would also like to say thank you to two of my grandchildren, Sarah, who did the invitations. I thought those were very good.
Yes.
Claire, who did those?
Yeah.
That was very nice too. And these lovely table decorations, they came up from Warwickshire with Lizzie. I don't know where she got them from, but no, she's quite an artist, isn't she? She did those, and that was very nice. So thank you, Lizzie, for that. Yeah, well, it is delightful to see you all, I must say. And that's already been said once, but it's no harm to say it again, because it's really nice. Now, I think I've ended up with the thank yous. If you want to remind me, I need to do something else, do something. But I think 60 years is a long time, and how on earth she's put up with me all of this time, I don't know. Derek, quiet. No, she says she doesn't know either. Anyway, I joined Unedited Founders in 1951. This is not going to be a long story, but there's a few bits I want to tell you about. And there I met Alan and his lovely wife Jean, and our families grew up together. They lived across a woodside in Coalbrookdale, across the valley from where we lived. Unedited Founders owned Coalbrookdale Company, and they were in the process of changing Dale House, which was Abraham Darby's first house. He actually never lived in it, but Abraham Darby II did, and then we did. So that's pretty good. But we had the top, they were in the process of developing this into 6 flats, and we had the very top one. Now, I don't know if any of you have been down to the Ironbridge Gorge Trust Museum in your time, and you know Dale House. Well, it's on Derby Road, which itself is a steep bank, but going up in a walled part of the garden, there is this very steep path. And then from there, we used to go up about 20 cast iron steps onto a cast iron balcony and balustrade, in through a door set halfway up the wall, into a big open hall, and then up 2 more flights of stairs and 2 landings up the atrium until we finally got to our door. And I tell you, by the time you got there, you thought you'd been up Mount Everest. Now this is where I think it's remarkable, this little lady by my side. When David, I nearly got it right. David came along, she used to, can you imagine, go down to Iron Bridge. Now, from our house then, Dale House, to the Dale End was about 1 mile. And from Dale End along to Iron Bridge, along the wharfage by the River Severn, was another ½ a mile. Well, she used to bump this pram, which you've seen on the photographs there, down these steps, and then, without the baby, I must say, then all the way down to Iron Bridge, load up with shopping, and get all the way back again, which was quite remarkable. Anyway, it was rather good because this pram had got a basket on the front and a basket underneath. And she found she could get more in the pram if she put the baby in the basket in the front. Anyway, occasionally on a Saturday, we would go, I must tell you this. Before David was born, a colleague of mine who worked at Alan will know, who was also a married man, when we found that Verna was a child, I informed him of this, and he said, how delightful. You will find having children is such fun. So, the times we used to go to Shrewsbury before we had a car was on the bus. From the coke hearth, that's where Abraham Darby first smelted iron with coke rather than charcoal, down to Dale End, catch the Ironbridge to Shrewsbury bus, and that was fine. And on the way back, of course, they used to drop us at Dale End, and then we had this gradual climb up with little David in my arm here, basket of shopping there, Verna was the same, and by the time we got to the top of those steps and collapsed on the landing, we were just out. Yeah, no doubt about it. Having children is great fun. Right, let's let's talk about David a little bit. I mean, you can see he's a slight little fellow. He couldn't eat when he was young. Oh, he lived on biscuits and bananas for a long time, and he was thin as a rake. We were a bit ashamed of him when we went to the seaside. But anyway, what we did, being very modern parents, we ignored everything that our parents told us about bringing up children. So we did the right thing. We bought all the books. And do you remember Dr. Spock? Remember him? Not Mr. Spock, Dr. Spock. Well, he was the guru that all the Americans followed for many years. We didn't realize at that time that about 10 years later he recanted, but still, we made all our mistakes with David reading this book. No, thanks, Dad. I mean, what our parents said to us when we asked a question, they would say, listen, when you're old enough, we'll tell you. No, that's not the thing to do. Mr. Spock says, you must explain everything to these children. Whatever they ask, tell them. So we did. Well, there was a spate of little children being taken away. So we said to David, he was about 2 or so, like this time, now listen, if somebody offers you a sweetie and wants to take you for a ride in the car, don't go, come and see Mummy or Daddy. Question, what about Mr. Parker next door? No, still do this. What about Mr. Jones down there? No, don't do this. Okay. Well, why would people want to do this? Well, they haven't got little boys of their own, you see, and they want to take you away from them. And we don't want to lose you, and you don't want to be, go from Mummy and Daddy, do you? No. Why would they want to do that? Well, these people are sick in their minds, and they don't really know what they're going to do. Fine. So that was the end of their conversation. A couple of weeks later, we had some friends over, and when they had their evening meal, they departed down to this long track, and little David came with me. And we waved goodbye to them, and just as we were saying goodbye, all of a sudden a little hand came up, grabbed me, and said, come on, Daddy, let's get in before those people who are sick in the mind get us. So no more Mr. Spock. He went out to the window. He wasn't there, though. That wasn't the end. Because this has obviously triggered something in his psyche. Because he became very frightened of shadows, and he saw eyes on the wall looking at him. When there are shadows on the wall, he could tigers in all sort of things. But this one night I was busy bathing him, and I just let out the water, and I said, okay, son, stand up, please, and let me get the towel. And just as it was disappearing, it made the unusual noise it does, like that. And he shot out of the bath and wrapped himself around me like an octopus. I was absolutely soaking wet. No doubt about it, having children is great fun. Anyway, let's leave him behind that. We went from Carbrookdale to Hadley, Lee Conway. And there we had a lovely time, but I want to tell you about the little chap who came second. And Verna used to call him the little golden boy. Sorry, David, I mean, don't get it. That's not the case. He was such a beaming little fellow. You stuck him on a chair and went away. Of course, he might have been slightly mentally deficient. I don't know. When he came back, he was still smiling. Which is very nice. Anyway, he was a very studious little fellow, and we couldn't find anything wrong in it at all. And it was a bit worrying to when we went to the Miss Madeley, I think it was. You reminded me it was Miss Madeley, who was the headmistress of the infant school, not the junior school. And one occasion we went to see her with a Parents Teachers Association or something, and she said, you know, Mr. Thomas, we're so relieved. What about? She said, well, we were getting concerned about Stephen. He was such a well-behaved, studious little boy. He was angelic. And, and everybody worried. Somebody that good can't last very long. Anyway, she said, I was looking out of my window the other day, and we found his little problem. He came along, and he stood, and there was a wall about 18 inches high. It stretched up about 30 yards. And he stood and looked around, and there's nobody around. Hopped up onto this thing and ran along it and hopped up the other side. A self-satisfied look. He said, we found his little devil. So that was him, and he was, oh, I don't know, such a well-behaved little fellow. He was so quiet. He'd come into a room, the door would open and close. You were aware of that, but you didn't know he was there until he was reading a book. Then, of course, what happened? Mr. Trouble came along, didn't he?
What?
We knew he was about. He lived life right from the word he was born. The time he was born at about 1,000 miles an hour.
Not good enough it.
Typical, you see what I mean? Bang, 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 he was down, and he opened the door, crash, went well. So when he arrived at the infant school, they just didn't know what to do. So, one day, May, and there's May. Put your hand up, May. May was my secretary for about 6-7 years. She came to me as a very smart, very clever young lady of 18. And she was a marvellous filter, because they had to go through her office because they can get with mine. And she also picked up the telephone calls. So there's one day she came in and said, Mr. Thomas, Robert's headmistress wants to speak to you. I said, oh, right. So hello, Miss Haley. What can I do for you? And she said, well, I'm afraid Robert and his friend have been up to no good. And I said, well, what's new, you know? So she said, we've got some work going on, and there's trenches and paving slabs. They shouldn't be anywhere near them, but he went down, pulled over this slab, and he's broken his leg. Oh, crikey, I thought, very good. So went down, put him in the car, took him to the hospital, the old RSI, I remember that, by St. Mary's Church, and they plastered his leg. And all the time he got his arm behind his leg, chatted to the nurse and the doctor, and they said, what a brave little fellow he is. A certain thought went through mine, well, there's no sense, there's no fooling, but I didn't think. Anyway, they said, we'll see you in 6 or 7 weeks' time, take off the plaster. So that duly happened. Took him back there, and when they took the plaster off, I was absolutely horrified. You know how your legs from the knee to the ankle are supposed to be something like that? They were like that. Like 2 bananas sitting side by side. And I said to the doctor, I don't like the look of those. Or that one. He said, it's all right, he's young, it'll go. And Nurse Val will probably tell you, was it probably a green stick fracture, would it be?
Yes.
Yeah, and that would probably have gone straight?
Mm-hmm.
And it would probably have gone straight?
Yeah,
Well, that's what he said, but I didn't honestly believe him.
that's true.
And as it happened, nature took its course. Because I went back, as I said, plaster off. About 2 weeks later, May came into the office again. And she said, Mr. Thomas, Miss Maidley wants to talk to you again. I said, oh my God, what's this? So she said, I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas. I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. I said, what's he been up to this time? Well, he and his friend were bouncing a lorry tyre off the wall, and it hit his leg, and it's broken it again. So great. So into the car, back to the RSI, and the same doctor, and I said to him, well, this time, could you manipulate it a bit? And he said, well, it'll be a bit painful. I said, manipulate it. I'm going to get my own back one way or another. So they manipulated it. He's been bandy ever since. No, I mean, but this time he wasn't so brave, so they had to give him a sedative, but he was quite good. So that was the end of that little episode, I think. Until perhaps a couple of years later, he came in with blood streaming down his head. And I said, what have you been doing? He said, I've been digging for worms with a hammer. So that was to the doctors and for some steady strips or whatever it is. And that was that one. It couldn't have been more than about a fortnight later that he slid down some corrugated iron things and gashed his leg. Back to the doctor again, more stitches. So this was our dear little Robert. He was great. And I remember that holiday because I had to extract the stitches at
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. You remember that? Very good. Right. What else can I tell you about this? Oh yes, the year of 62. Remember that, folks? 62? What happened in 62? Very, very cold winter. But the summer was also glorious, and we had a very eventful holiday down in Cornwall, sorry. So remember those days, 62, no motorways. It took 8 to 10 hours to get down to Cornwall. So we had to go through Bristol, and the first thing that happened, I got stopped by a policeman for going too fast. I had no idea that could ever happen to me, quite frankly, being very careful and slow driver, but anyway, it happened. And then a little further on, I think by Bridgewalk or something like that, we came to a queue of traffic, and there'd been an accident up ahead. And all of a sudden, I thought I'd better get out and have a look. So I got out of the car and walking forward, and all of a sudden the car in the front burst into flames. It's quite a shock, really. And poor Stephen saw his daddy walking towards this flame. He got a bit hysterical, so he would have tapped on the face to whack! Oh no! The sort that he occasionally used to give to me. No, I didn't say that. Anyway, it calmed him down. And off we went. But in those are the days of quarter lights. Remember those? Because I had those on. It's quite warm in the car. But when we got down to Gornhaven, into this flat we were living in, up some more steps that we were accustomed to, we found the poor little Robert had got bunged up eyes, conjunctivitis or something that was a good start. Then what happened then? Yes, we went to Bodmin Moor and Jamaica Inn, Daphne du Maurier, famous. Yeah. Well, we thought we'd take the children to see this, but on the way we'd stop off and look at Goliath Falls. Well, David and I went to Goliath Falls, and Mummy and the two younger ones had a little stroll through this lovely field. And Stephen, skipping ahead, thought that's a lovely little, very green field. So we hopped into it and found it wasn't a green field at all. It was a little pool which was covered with moss and stuff. Anyway, we went. Verna did what she could for him at that time, and then we forgot about it. We went to Bodmin Moor and came home that night, and when we were getting ready for bed, I said to Verna, this lad's legs are cold up to the knee. So it was a mustard bath and so on, and into bed with him. Following morning, we were wakened to a scream, and went in, and he was having a fit. I thought, this is a great holiday, is it?
That's the marvellous holiday.
Anyway, so I thought, found out who the local doctor was, rang up his home, he's in church. So there was me unshaven in mucky old clothes, walking up the centre of the aisle to get the doctor, who happened to be at the very front pew, didn't he? Tapped him on the shoulder. He came out and he said, yes, okay, I'll pick up my bag, you go back home. Which he did. And he came and examined him, and he said, oh, you're all right, Mr. Thomas. He hasn't got what you thought he might have, which is poliomyelitis. Do you remember that at that time? Yeah. So that was a relief. But he said he has got a chill, but his temperature won't release itself. So he needs to sweat. Gave him some stuff. Keep him in bed for a couple of days. So that was another little of his own. And then, of course, up these steps we had inside, there was one flight of steps, a little landing, another flight of steps, and a newel post. And the big lad there was about 9 at the time, I suppose. He used to sort of swing off this and put his hand on this thing and jump down. One day he missed it and landed on his face. Big scars and so. So I tell you, that was some holiday. And as my friend said, it's fun having children. Anyway, I won't bore you with more than that, really. But except, of course, I should say, a bit later on in life, when they became motorised, that was a problem. There was the scooter that David kept falling off, and he decided he ought to go for 4 wheels, which was okay. And then he went on until Robert bought what was it called? A Wartburg?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, have you ever heard of a Wartburg? Don't buy one. I spent more time under that than it. So it used to be a question of, Dad, I'm at Nestcliff, I'm broken down, about 12 o'clock at night, can you come and take me in? So that was the sort of thing. But they also, David and Robert, had a propensity of running out of road and landing on or over hedges. And this was a bit worrying. One night we got up and Robert was not in his bed. We thought, where's he? Well, actually, he was in a farmer's house somewhere in mid Wales. He had gone down this road, and unfortunately the road didn't go go straight on, it went round a corner. So he decided to leapfrog over the hedge, down into the field below. Unfortunately, I think about 5 miles an hour less he would have gone into the hedge. 5 mile an hour more he would have gone into the river beyond. So they were very lucky. So the local farmer dragged it out the following day. So that's a small piece of what it is, and sure is great fun having children. Now, it is our diamond day. Now, I said this to somebody right recently. He said, I understand it's your wedding anniversary soon. I said, yes, it is. Is that your golden? I said, no, it's our diamond. He said, no, that's remarkable. He said, you must be one of a dying breed. I like the sentiment. But you know, I understand what he meant, but when you look around this room, it's amazing. There is Mabs and Basil, who had their diamond in 2008. There's Noel and Anne, who had their diamond in 2010. There's Barbara and Ted, elder sister by the way. I always behave myself when I'm next to her. In 2010 also. And Derek and Val, September 2011. And Alan and Jean, 2011. And I've heard of myself. So that is 6 couples in this room. Don't you think that's fantastic? Well, I think I've said enough. But yes. What I was amazed at, she's the only one who said that. I mean,
Oh, they might have thought it.
Okay, I'll get the best. But you know, I'm very proud of my family, our family. Yes.
Thank you.
They've all, I think, worked very hard and have done very well. Life has its ups and downs. It's not all smooth, is it, dear?
Oh,
no. But the very fact that we're together means to say that I have to give in most of the time. We're all right. But it is nice to see our sons with such lovely wives and very happy marriages, and that is great. And we're delighted for you. And also to produce some very fine grandchildren. 2 boys and 4 girls. And you know, I think you're doing very well. Keep it going, and we're delighted that you're here today. I'm very proud of you. So can I just say, there are people who would have been here today but couldn't. Our friends from Yorkshire who are not very well. They're having a bad time. And coming down from Bridlington is a long way to come. Heart problems and so on. And so we're missing them. And there are other people who, regrettably, when we look at the photographs of 10 years ago, should be here, but I'm afraid they're not. And there's a lot missing. So could I ask you, please, to raise your glasses to our absent and departed friends, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have one final little thing to present. It's not this week's winning lottery ticket, I think it would be, but it's something that I think Raymond Parker's actually on. An official certified copy of their wedding certificate back 31st March 1952.
Oh.
I do that with love from all the family and everybody here today.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you say that we are certified? Or
Yeah.
Oh, you should have.
Not today.
No.
Are we allowed to open it?
Yes.
Good. Okay, folks. It doesn't explode or anything like that. Who's done that? This is you. Just do that. Oh, I see. I couldn't work that out, could I? I'm only an engineer. How do I know about this? A chartered engineer. Thank you. You couldn't help it, could you? You programmed. Wow, this is exciting. Who is that lovely? It's like one of these Russian dolls, isn't it? We get to it eventually. That's a seal as well. Oh my goodness, look at that. Wow. There we are, folks.
Something else to be framed.
It's in the frame already.
So you can take back all you've ever said about me, young Jerry.
That's not a birth certificate.
That's very lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Can I have a look as well?
It's wrong. It says I was a motion study engineer, not a production engineer.
Oh.
Oh, 3 children, 3 sons. Yes, that's very lovely. Thank you very much indeed. It will be free. Oh, it is free. It stays in that. Sorry, I was going to say that we're very lucky. Not only have you survived and been with us, but my best man is here, and Verna's 2 sisters who were her bridesmaids are here also. Sorry about that. Anybody would like a drink or whatever, you do. Oh, yes, the moment, before you go. Yes, and then the other thing I was going to say, you've all been very good children, so you can have a little Easter egg to hear with you. Except those people who've been very naughty and have transgressed, and they must stay behind and write down 100 times, I must learn to obey. Those people who have brought flowers and things like that. That's very nice of them. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. But you're very, very naughty. Why can't we hear one? Oh, you do well.